A week after my 75-year-old father's accidental death, I received an unexpected letter. Inside were 6 keys and a note directing me to a safe deposit box. The message simply instructed me to open the door. I used the keys to unlock 6 locations, uncovering a horrifying truth that made me want to block out the world. Fueled by a desire for revenge against a specific person, I embarked on a mission to uncover the full story. My name is Lisa Watson, and I am 45 years old. My father was the president of a welfare-related company, and my mother passed away when I was a baby, leaving me with no memories of her. The only connection I have to her is a custom-made necklace that pairs with hers to form a heart shape. However, her necklace was lost long ago, and I only have the one my father gave me. As an only child, I married Michael, an employee at my father's company 20 years ago. He was well regarded, and people believed our marriage secured the company's future. I was a homemaker who enjoyed solving puzzles, a passion shared with my father. Despite a comfortable home life, my marriage was troubled. Before our wedding, Michael was kind, but his attitude changed afterward. "Welcome home. I'll prepare dinner," I would say, only to hear, "I ate out. I don't mean anything. I'm going to bed." When I expressed my loneliness, he snapped, "You're acting all cute, and it's disgusting. I hate that kind of thing." His behavior grew colder, and we couldn't discuss starting a family. We remained childless, and by the time I was 40, I had given up on having children. 3 years ago, Michael began coming home late, smelling of sweet perfume. One day, I asked if he was cheating. He replied, "I just go to hostess clubs for business. It's part of my job. Don't complain." When I pressed further, he struck me, his eyes bloodshot with rage. "A carefree housewife like you shouldn't meddle in my affairs." Got it. At that moment, with no work experience, I felt trapped and remained silent. However, my father often said, "You can build trust with business partners without hostesses or alcohol." This made me wary of my husband's behavior, so I confided in James, my father's close associate. James, a year younger than me, was like a comforting younger brother, always listening earnestly to my concerns while keeping an appropriate distance. He held a high position in my father's estimation and occasionally visited our home for work-related matters. One day, I asked him, "James, what do you think about business partners going to hostess clubs?" His response was measured. "Times change, and so do people's approaches to work." True. Thank you, I feel better now. "If you ever need help, don't hesitate to ask," James assured me. His calm demeanor encouraged me not to dwell on the matter further. However, life took a dramatic turn shortly afterward. 1 month ago, the morning after my husband left for an overnight business trip, I received a call from the police. My beloved father had passed away in an accident. When I arrived, he was already in the mortuary, appearing as if he were merely asleep. The police arrived with my husband, James, and several company executives. "Why would this happen? Please tell me everything," I implored tearfully. The investigating officer informed me that my father had jumped from a desolate cliff. Traces of sleeping pills were found in his system, and his abandoned 7-seater car was nearby. Inside the car, they discovered a neatly typed suicide note. The letter contained the words, "I'm exhausted," and left the position of the company president to my husband, Michael. Although it wasn't handwritten, James explained that my father often created memos on his computer, so a typed note wasn't unusual. Based on their experience, the police speculated that my father might have taken the pills to cloud his consciousness before leaping. James wasn't present at the time, and no witnesses had come forward. I sincerely apologized despite being in the position of a close associate, James said, tears welling up in his eyes but managing to hold back. Even my usually cold husband, Michael, gently embraced my shoulder during this difficult moment. My father, who presided over many employees, left behind an abundance of tasks for those who remained. In the days that followed, chaos reigned within the company. For now, my husband assumed the role of president, and James seamlessly transitioned into his right-hand man. Meanwhile, I was busy handling matters related to relatives and acquaintances. Times like these made me wish I had a sibling. As an only child who had lost both parents, I felt a vague sense of loneliness despite my husband's presence. I grappled with my emotions. 1 week after my father's death, I received a letter addressed to me. Inside the envelope was another with a cryptic message. "Read this after finding a safe place." Curiosity piqued, I opened it immediately. 6 keys and a slip of paper with the location of a safe deposit box fell out. A single note accompanied them. Open all the doors. Only then will you discover the truth. Recalling my father's love for puzzles, I felt a glimmer of relief amidst my sadness. Intriguing, I thought. From that day on, between household chores, I visited 6 different safe deposit boxes, unlocking each one. What unfolded was beyond my wildest expectations. Could this be real? I gasped, unraveling a truth that sent shivers down my spine. As the events of the past played out in my mind, tears traced down my cheeks. I can't stay idle even if it leads to a heartbreaking conclusion, I resolved. With my emotions weighing on me, I set forth. One day, a month after my father's funeral, my husband returned home unusually early and offered me wine. It was a gesture he had never made before. Well, this is unusual. What's the occasion? Actually, James mentioned that you like wine, so he gave it to me. Really? I said, surprised. When my husband pulled out the bottle, I wondered what was going on. However, I did enjoy both red and white wines, having discussed them with James before. James really knows everything about our family, doesn't he? With that, my husband disappeared into the kitchen with the bottle and opener. He returned to the living room with a glass of wine in hand. I still have some work to do, so go ahead, Lisa. Thank you. Hold on a moment, I want to prepare some snacks. I retreated to the kitchen, busying myself with preparations before returning to my seat. Cheers, I said, raising my glass to take a sip. My husband's expression twisted, and he squinted at me. Seeing his reaction out of the corner of my eye, I couldn't help but smile inwardly. An hour later, my husband scrutinized my face suspiciously. Hey, has anything changed? Not really. Oh wait, is it because I'm still awake? Surprising, isn't it? Huh? What are you talking about? Enough with the act. You drugged the wine with sleeping pills, planned to drive me somewhere, and then throw me off a cliff like my dad. But it won't work. In truth, I had been investigating my husband's room until that day. I found a bottle of sleeping pills hidden in his desk drawer. I discreetly replaced the pills with identical-looking supplements and returned them to their original place. His trip to pour wine in the kitchen was actually an opportunity to mix the sleeping pills into the wine. Why are you snooping around my things? Those pills are for when I can't sleep. I don't need your transparent lies. Actually, something like this was sent to me recently. I dramatically spread out the letter and 6 keys on the table. I opened all the doors. Inside were thin papers with scattered words. I layered the 6 flimsy sheets, and lo and behold, they formed a complete sentence. The one who killed the president is Michael Watson. Danger is also approaching you. Take a good look. I pointed at the finished message. Who the hell sent this? The answer was about to be revealed. James, his close associate, calmly stepped forward. The sender was me. Earlier, when I went to fetch snacks from the kitchen, I secretly messaged James and had him hide near the entrance. I had doubts about the president's suicide, so I discreetly investigated various aspects. You were doing that. The day after we learned of the former president's passing, you brought a woman to the president's office, right? I was nearby at the time, James added, revealing that he had deduced from the conversation between Michael and the woman. At that moment, James revealed that my husband had killed my father to take over the presidency. My husband couldn't help but roll his eyes and avert his gaze. I grabbed Michael's shoulders and shook him. And you were after my life just to get your hands on the entire fortune. The woman seemed to think all those affairs were mere jokes, but I believed it was the truth. James confessed that he had no concrete evidence until he could consult the police. But he wanted to inform me somehow, so he chose to send the letter. My husband remained defiant. Why are you blindly believing what this guy says? Taking a deep breath, I decided to reveal the hidden truth. Actually, I began. I need to share the untold story. Once upon a time, my dad fell in love with my mom, who grew up in a children's foster care facility. However, due to his strict parents, their marriage faced opposition. In the end, they married without consent, and I was born. What does that have to do with anything now? My husband interrupted. Please listen to the whole story, James interjected. My husband, wearing a stern expression, reluctantly took a seat nearby. During my dad's absence on a business trip, his strict parents initiated divorce proceedings without consent, leaving only my mom to be expelled from the house. But I thought she had passed away, Michael said, confused. That was a lie concocted to conceal our family secret, I revealed. Apparently my mother, pressured by my father's parents, tearfully withdrew when they told her a future president's wife with someone like you would tarnish our family reputation. To make matters worse, I, then just 1.5 years old, was forcibly separated from my reluctant mother, all for a selfish reason, to be the heir presumptive in case my father didn't have any male grandchildren in the future. My father was fed a false story by his parents. Your wife left you after having an affair. But the truth was different. No wonder, my husband muttered. I had no idea about the president's past. Understandably, this was a closely guarded secret known only to a select few relatives. I had only recently learned about it myself. Now, here's the most crucial part. What more is there? Stop dragging it out and just tell me, he said, raising his voice in frustration. Ignoring his impatience, I glanced at James. In fact, at that time, my mom was already pregnant with another child. That child is now sitting right next to you. James, my husband asked, stunned. Wait, so you two are siblings? James nodded silently. My mother, who had been cast aside, suffered from poor health and remained bedridden. Meanwhile, my father, unable to accept the betrayal of the woman he loved, never remarried and tirelessly searched for my mother's whereabouts. 30 years passed. My father visited a rundown apartment and finally found my mom. She was critically ill. They'd reunited briefly before she passed away. At that moment, James and his father each discovered for the first time that James's company president was his own father, while his father learned that he had a son. My mother hoped I'd pursue a socially impactful career, so I chose to work in the welfare sector at this company. James joining the company was purely coincidental, but perhaps our mom orchestrated our connection. I continued. James, his eyes welling up, revealed, my father once considered promoting me to a high-ranking position and publicly acknowledging our relationship. However, I declined, wanting to forge my own path. Revealing this would cause a stir, and Mom wouldn't have wanted that. Besides, I wanted to succeed on my own terms. Despite rejecting my father's offer, James' exceptional abilities led him to become the president's trusted right-hand man even without nepotism. The truth had finally come full circle. On my mother's monthly Memorial Day, the president would unfailingly visit my home to share memories of my mother. He was planning to come over the day before his fatal accident. Right, I confirmed. Yes, but for some reason, he didn't show up without any notice. It was unlike him. According to James, my father always called when plans changed. However, this sudden silence struck James as unnatural. As he delved deeper, he uncovered evidence pointing to my husband as the culprit. That's why he sent me that cryptic letter. It's all nonsense. Where's the proof that he's the president's son? Who would believe such a fabricated story? Michael's anger flared, directed at both of us. Naturally, I didn't blindly accept James' account. I had seen irrefutable proof of our sibling relationship. Hey, can you show it? I asked. James took out a necklace, which had been lost a long time ago, from his pocket. He had been keeping it carefully since our mother passed away. When combined with the one I have, it forms a heart and is undoubtedly the one that our father and mother had custom made. Is this just a coincidence? Doesn't this prove James is my brother? Even if it does, people lie. Besides, there's no guarantee, Michael said, still defiant. If you doubt it, we can do a DNA test with our father, I asserted. Since my father had recently passed away, there were plenty of heirlooms suitable for testing. My unwavering confidence seemed to unsettle my husband. Suddenly, he crumpled a thin piece of paper with a coded message. Why did he go to such elaborate lengths? Well, that was to ensure that even if you stumbled upon it, you wouldn't easily recognize it. James had discerned that Michael, despite appearing competent at work, had a tendency to delegate inconvenient tasks to others. So, as a precaution, he assumed that even if Michael found this letter, he would assign it to a trusted subordinate. Interestingly, knowing my penchant for puzzles, James believed I would decipher the message. This trick was something the president devised during his lifetime. He'd proudly say, "How's that? Quite clever, isn't it?" Come to think of it, my dad always jotted down interesting ideas. He once mentioned wanting his daughter to tackle a mystery like this. And so with this backstory, my brother and I learned of my husband's crime. Over time, we meticulously searched for clues in his room. We discovered evidence that he had fabricated a false suicide note on his computer. Additionally, James checked Michael's motorcycle ride history using an app. It revealed a one-way trip from the accident site back home. "You loaded the motorcycle onto the car, pushed my dad off the cliff, and then used the bike to return home," I exclaimed. Recalling the day before my father's demise, my husband claimed to be on a business trip. However, according to James, there was no such task. "Your marriage to me was probably just about money and status." On the day when Michael secretly brought his affair partner into the president's office, James discreetly followed the woman. It turned out that she was a hostess from a cabaret club. Later, James infiltrated the club undercover. The woman, smitten with James, readily spilled the truth. Why harm my dad at all? I couldn't wait until the old man kicked the bucket. Despite Michael's repeated attempts to retire, my father adamantly refused, James revealed. It seemed my husband couldn't bear to wait for his demise. His selfishness ignited a fiery rage within me. "We'll share our findings with the police and request a reinvestigation." "But you haven't reported it yet." "Could it be because you still care about me?" my husband retorted, spouting nonsensical excuses. Even at this point, James, equally baffled, remained silent. "Going to the police would have resolved it through the legal system, wouldn't it?" James asked. "But I wanted to take matters into my own hands and avenge our dad," I confessed. When I confessed my inner turmoil, Michael finally seemed to grasp the situation he was in. He'd apologized tearfully on the spot. Michael's face was a mess of tears and a runny nose as he looked up at me. His body trembled uncontrollably. However, neither I nor my brother had any intention of forgiving Michael, who had sent our father to the afterlife. "What you've done is a serious crime. But please forgive me." "Prepare to experience despair," I said. Afterward, with James's assistance, I handed the sobbing Michael over to the police. In a subsequent interrogation, Michael admitted to taking our father's life. With the intervention of a lawyer, the divorce was finalized. The $20,000 compensation was paid from his savings. According to reports, Michael, now confined behind bars, appears to be a mere shell of his former self. The woman, aware of his marital status, had an affair with him and also demanded alimony of $10,000. Meanwhile, James, publicly acknowledged as the president's biological son, has assumed the role of the president. His past accomplishments were duly recognized. I'll be assisting with administrative tasks at the company from now on. My brother and I will join forces to uphold the legacy our father left behind.